Day number 21. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting this journey just by simply watching this channel. 21 days of meditating every day for 2 hours. And I think today I want to talk about the Kundalini during these meditations, what the Kundalini is doing, what the energetic sensations are. And when I first started these 2-hour meditations, it felt like too much. Like the Kundalini was just, there was so much more energy coming in. There was so much more of a dynamic where I was just kind of like losing myself deeper and deeper into spaciousness. And the depth that I was accessing at first was like disorienting and really taking me out of my comfort zone. And I realized the part of me it was taking out of my comfort zone was the part of me that I was letting go, and that I was really falling deeper into my true depth, my true self, And I was really rooting into to a truer place. So at first it was really disorienting because I was just like, I was going through life from a deeper place that I hadn't really accessed that often. Prior to these meditations, and I was finding that the Kundalini was really just starting to flow a lot more harmoniously, and this was kind of unsettling for those parts of me that those like egoic parts of me that I was still attached to, and so at first this was kind of an ungrounding experience, and if I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep going with it. But, the longer I've gone with this process, the more I am more willing to open to this place. The deeper I tend to want to go, and the less attached I am to those thoughts that will come up and say, this is too far, you're going too deep, Before my Kundalini, or before my, it's seriously, I think these meditations have been like another awakening for me. But before I started meditating for 2 hours every day, for these last 3 weeks, I never would really meditate over an hour unless I was having intense Kundalini symptoms, where I had to just lay there and let go for hours, And now that I've been meditating for 2 hours, and I think also in combination with the fact that I've been going through this process for about 2.5 years now, I don't really get a lot of symptoms anymore. I don't want to say I'm totally symptom free, but dang, it feels like it a lot of days. I still have sensitivities, and like we all do. The nervous system definitely has its preferences and things it needs to remain in a place of peacefulness and stability. But those things are like really second nature to me now. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of take you guys through, when I'm speaking right now, I can feel an old story that comes up in the meditations of doubt, of just these things that want to of self-preservation, of hanging on to what I have, and to not wanting to. Sometimes these voices come up and say they don't want to go deeper inward because that means more expansion outwards, right? And these voices are like, we're comfortable here. And the deeper in we go, the more we let go of the old story of doing things just for safety and security and comfort, and the more we embrace the story of accessing our true power and accessing the truth of how dynamic and incredible we can be. Kyle C., someone who inspired me to take this 100-day self-connection experiment, has this beautiful thing where he says there's a Martin Luther King living in every single one of us. Think of the level of consciousness that Martin Luther King must have had to keep holding on to in spite of everything that was happening and coming at him to try to deter him, to try to take him away from his truth. Think of that level of consciousness that he maintained. Think about his connection to his self that he must have had to be rooted in that kind of power, to keep going forward with the vision that he had. And I just think that that's such a huge part of this discovery is like when you start going inward, you just start discovering more about your true self and the true power that you actually have. And when you start realizing this, it's only a matter of time until you let go of those old stories that are so limiting and have so much self-doubt that even, I like doing these now that I'm back home. I can do these right after the meditation when things are super raw, when things are super like in the moment, because it's after these meditations that I feel so opened up. And so much of the energetic pain that I feel and the energetic releasing is all in like the solar plexus, maybe even a little bit of the sacral, kind of just where our seat of our power is. And I've been realizing, whenever we want other people to understand us, it's just us screaming at ourselves to understand ourselves. And that's been a lot of this path. And I know so many of you guys, you want to be understood by people, that you're going through this amazing, profound experience. And that is still in me a little bit too. But I've been realizing the reason that exists for so long and why it was so strong for so long and why I needed the validation, which I still have that movement in me, but it's slowly dissolving. It's because I just really want to accept myself. As soon as I can accept myself, that is when I'll be able to let go of that needing that external validation. There's this really great idea that I've heard about, would you rather love yourself and have everyone else not understand you, not get you, maybe even hate you, or would you rather not like yourself, but everyone else likes you? And I think more than anything that this life is all about the first option, you loving you. And once you love you, then life isn't about survival anymore. Life is about quality of life. That's the most important thing. And with all the things going on right now, which I feel totally isolated from, to be honest. But when I was in Portland, it just felt like the number one priority was survival, But I think when we establish and cultivate a deep enough connection to our heart, to our truth, the number one priority of existence becomes quality of life. And that's why so many great and inspiring and powerful and visionary type of people were willing to give their life, because the most important thing to them was not survival, but it was their quality of life. Like any basically heroic figure you can think of had that connection to themselves. So quality of life was their essence, was their main priority. And talking to you guys after these meditations, I'm just going to be real with you. It's not always, I don't feel always so clear up here. So they kind of just go everywhere, because during these meditations, what's happening is this movement, the mind's movement is melting away. The Kundalini I can feel is just dissolving the mind's control over this vessel. These meditations are so much about letting go of the control I think I have on life. And I come so deep into the body, into the heart, into the solar plexus, into the gut. And there's so much opening going on. And then I can feel the mind come in and resist the opening and try to contract it. Because the mind knows it is like this opening of the body, this surrender it's like the mind's death knell. It's the mind going to be obliterated in a sense. I had a really beautiful call with a light worker yesterday, and she was going through something where she was like, Matt, I feel like I've been disconnected from spirit, from my higher self. I think maybe I need to move. Do I need to do this and this? And we finally reached this point where I was like, well, what is really being asked of you? And she was like, I just feel like life is saying to do nothing at all, to just be here. And I was like, perfect. That's the movement, to just do nothing. Doing nothing is so powerful. Being is the most powerful movement on this path, because it's when we're able to just sit and do nothing. That is when and let the mind have its craziness. Because when we're sitting and doing nothing, the mind is going to be throwing a tantrum and saying, you must be doing this to get approval. You must be doing this because other people are going to be judgmental if you don't. And you could even be having this critical nature towards yourself, like, I'm just lazy, I'm just worthless, or I'm so confused, maybe I'm losing my mind. So it's so important when we sit, we let the mind do that. And as we just keep sitting and sitting and sitting, that part of our mind, we actually do lose our mind in a sense. We lose that part of the mind that thinks it needs all of these things to happen because it does need those things to happen for its survival. But when we don't pay heed to that movement and we just let the mind kind of the mind just kind of, the momentum of it just slows down eventually and then dissolves. That's when we connect with ourselves in a deeper way. And that's when we connect with the silence, with the fact that the silence is us. And then the silence moves us, which just means we're moved by inspiration. We're not moved by egoic fear of, I must do this because of other people's judgments and my negative judgment towards myself for just being me and doing what Spirit's calling me to do, which is just to be. We actually let go of that motivation which is just rooted in fear and lack. Whenever you're doing something for the approval of someone else or for the approval of your egoic mind, that is a movement based in fear and lack. So when we sit and do nothing and that movement based in fear and lack comes up at volume, all the way maximum volume, and we just sit and sit and sit and we allow and we say, I love that, and we say, okay, and we just know it's our inner child coming up and we just give it love and we soothe it, and eventually it dissolves. And then we come to this place where we're just sitting in the silence as the silence. And that's when inspiration comes through. And I'm getting really full body shivers now. I love when when that happens when I'm shooting a video, because I know what I'm saying is true. So that's when we really realize ourselves as the silence. And then the silence can move us. The silence can guide us, because the silence was always there to guide us. It's just that the mind momentum was too high and too noisy, and we were too identified with its movements of fear and lack. But through sitting and just doing nothing and connecting to yourself and opening and surrendering control and getting into the body, those movements slow down and release and clear. And then there you are. You're just this open vessel for source to flow through. And I've been working on this myself with my phone addiction. That thing is a fucking dragon, right? Because that's where the mind goes for its instant, it's like a little drug hit, right? And I like being on the phone because I want to be open to like be of support when clients need me, when just, I like that interaction so much. I love it. And that comes from a very pure place. But there's so much about technology that comes from just a place of needing that validation, right? And keeping that aspect of our mind that's rooted in fear and lack alive and keeping it thriving. So that's a movement I've been working on, and it's slowly I've been letting go of that so that I can be more of a vessel for source. Because think about it, how often are we looking for validation outside of ourselves, and that's cutting off the flow of source to come through for some creative, amazing idea that can add so much value to others, that can really help others, right? That can really connect us with our gifts. So the less we can be in that fear and lack place of the mind always looking out to the external for that, that love and that, acceptance and validation, approval, all of that, the more we can let go of that movement and just come within and sit and do nothing and feel the burning of it, feel the mind's almost rage and tantrum and thought storms of it, and just sit and sit and sit and sit through it and let something new emerge through us that is more connected to the heart, that is more connected to the gut, that just feels that love and that power from within. Then we're on the movement of just being a place of pure creation, and source can flow through because there's no craziness blocking it, right? Because we've sat through it and we've loved it to death, essentially. We've loved it to death. We've loved ourselves awake. We've loved ourselves into an open vessel for something higher, for the intelligence of life to flow through. And that's my movement. That's why I'm doing these meditations, is so that I can feel these. And guys, it's painful sometimes, almost all the time so far. Am I ever gonna have a meditation where it's just pure bliss for 2 hours? I don't know. That would be an amazing thing. But during these meditations, it can be painful, and then it can start feeling really good. And then because it starts feeling really good, you've opened up into a new space, a new container, and then more pain starts coming through. So then you just open to that. And then because sometimes the mind still has like really strong grip on you, it'll go to storyland, and you'll just hang out in a story for like sometimes 10 minutes. And then I'm like, what am I doing? But then the movement is, it's okay. This is just all learning. And then back to opening, back to letting go. So day 21 in the books. Thanks for watching. Thanks for booking sessions with me. That you're making you're making my vision come true of when this started. And I love it so much. I just love this work. Thanks for the donations, the support. Even if even if you're just watching this, thank you so much for that. That is such a huge contribution. So I will see you guys on day 22. This video is probably everywhere, but that's probably kind of how they're going to be, because I just want to sit here and speak from the heart. I don't want to, these are not planned and structured at all. But anyways, I'll see you all tomorrow. I love you. Namaste.